There is a certain kind of man who doesn't raise his voice, yet everything about him speaks clearly. A man who doesn't chase attention, but seems to draw it simply by being rooted in his own presence. He's not trying to be mysterious. He's not playing a character or performing masculinity. His depth comes from silence, not swagger. And the quiet strength he carries is the kind that makes people pause without knowing exactly why. These men exist on the edges of social structures, fully capable of stepping in, yet equally comfortable stepping back. They are observant, measured, thoughtful. And while the world often romanticizes chaos, noise, and intensity, these men understand something different. True power is calm. You won't hear them talk about their potential. You won't hear long declarations of their capacity. Instead, you see it in the way they walk, the way they pause before speaking, the way they assess a situation before reacting. Their strength doesn't come from a desire to dominate others, but from a deep familiarity with themselves. They've wrestled with their own shadows. They've confronted the parts of themselves most men avoid. And because of that, they carry a stability that is rare. This quiet stability is what makes them dangerous, not in a chaotic or harmful way, but in the sense that people cannot manipulate them, intimidate them, or pull them into emotional storms. Their mind is their fortress, and their independence is their shield. When a man is not easily swayed, when he is not attached to validation, when he no longer acts from insecurity, he becomes unpredictable to those who rely on weakness to control others. Many will misunderstand this. They see silence and assume timidity. They see solitude and assume emptiness. But the Sigma male's power is internal, shaped by reflection, patience, and self-control. It is the kind of power that grows quietly, without needing permission or applause. And today, we will explore 6 calm, subtle, yet unmistakable ways Sigma males reveal that they are dangerous. Not through aggression, but through depth. Not through loudness, but through certainty. Not through dominance, but through an unshakable sense of who they are. Let's begin. Number 1, their emotional detachment is strategic, not cold. Sigma males feel deeply, but their emotional world operates like a disciplined internal ecosystem, rather than a chaotic storm. They experience the same intensity, the same surges of frustration, hurt, or excitement as anyone else, but they allow these emotions to move through them instead of erupting outward. This quiet emotional discipline comes from a combination of high self-awareness, introverted processing, and a natural tendency toward introspection. While many people respond impulsively, driven by momentary feelings or social pressure, the Sigma male pauses. He takes a mental step back and evaluates the situation before choosing his response. This restraint isn't coldness, it's strategic emotional intelligence. Psychology refers to this as affective regulation, the ability to experience emotion fully without allowing it to hijack decision-making. Because of this, the Sigma's silence often speaks louder than raised voices ever could. To people who thrive on emotional chaos or manipulation, this composure is unsettling. They can't read him, can't provoke him, and can't predict his reactions. The average manipulator depends on emotional volatility to gain leverage, but the Sigma offers none. He doesn't feed into drama, doesn't match intensity with intensity, and doesn't respond to fear tactics. Instead, he observes. Research in behavioral psychology shows that individuals who maintain emotional distance during conflict are more likely to notice patterns, hidden motives, and inconsistencies that others overlook. This is exactly where the Sigma's quiet danger lies. His emotional distance is not detachment, it is data gathering. While others panic or explode, he collects information, processes it carefully, and decides on a response that aligns with his long-term goals rather than temporary feelings. This selective expression also protects his peace. Sigma males conserve emotional energy the same way minimalists conserve physical space. They don't waste words, reactions, or feelings on situations that don't deserve them. This makes his emotional presence rare and powerful. When he finally chooses to speak, people listen, not because he demands authority, but because he embodies it. His calm becomes contagious, and his stability becomes a form of leadership that doesn't rely on dominance, loudness, or force. Instead, it is rooted in consistency, emotional neutrality, and sharp awareness. Ultimately, the Sigma male's emotional world is a paradox. He feels deeply, but expresses sparingly. He is calm, yet perceptive, soft-spoken, yet powerful. And it is precisely this blend of emotional depth and measured expression that makes him so difficult for manipulators to handle. Clarity is a threat to those who depend on confusion, and the Sigma lives in clarity. Number 2, they see patterns in people quickly. Sigma males are wired differently from the average man, and one of the most fascinating things about them is their ability to listen beyond words. Most people listen to what is being said, but Sigma males listen to intentions, tone shifts, and what is not being spoken. They are highly attuned to the subtle layers of human behavior, a skill rooted in both psychology and emotional intelligence. Research in interpersonal communication shows that more than half of human expression happens non-verbally, and Sigma males intuitively understand this. Their quiet nature works like a tool, giving them the space to observe without interrupting or inserting their own ego. Because they don't crave validation or external approval, their minds stay clear, allowing them to catch micro-behaviors that others overlook. Quick eye darts, forced smiles, changes in breathing, tension in the jaw, or the way someone hesitates before answering a simple question. These might seem insignificant to most people, but to a Sigma male, they are signals. They reveal insecurity, hidden motives, or emotional discomfort long before someone admits it. This awareness also stretches into social patterns and group dynamics. Sigma males can sense power structures instantly, the same way some people can sense when a room feels too quiet or too loud. They notice who dominates the conversation, who avoids confrontation, who leads, who follows, and who pretends to hold influence they don't actually possess. Their brain naturally categorizes these cues, giving them a psychological map of how everyone in the room functions. It is not manipulation, it is perception. Because Sigma males operate outside the typical hierarchy, they are not distracted by competing for status or approval. This independence sharpens their insight, allowing them to detect inconsistencies between a person's words and their true intentions. When someone tries to manipulate them, lie to them, or flatter them insincerely, they pick up on the energy mismatch almost instantly. Cognitive studies show that humans often reveal truth through unconscious cues, even when lying verbally, and Sigma males have learned how to read these cues effortlessly. The result is a quiet but undeniable power. People may not know why they feel exposed or unsettled around them, but it is because Sigma males see through the surface. They analyze patterns, intentions, and emotional undercurrents with a level of clarity that makes deception difficult. In a world full of noise, Sigma males navigate through silence, not by guessing, but by understanding, but by, number 3, they are immune to social pressure. Sigmas don't conform for acceptance, and this alone places them in a category of men who operate by a different internal compass. In a world where most people adjust their identity to avoid rejection or to fit into a group, the Sigma male stands firm in who he is, even when it costs him approval. Psychologists often describe this as a high internal locus of control, the belief that your life is directed by your own choices rather than by external expectations. Because of this, Sigmas don't follow trends for belonging. They observe them, analyze them, and only engage if it aligns with their personal values. This independence makes them unpredictable in social environments, not because they enjoy being mysterious, but because their motivations are not rooted in approval or attention. While the average person's behavior can often be predicted by social pressure, cultural norms, or fear of judgment, a Sigma's decisions rise from principle, self-knowledge, and long-term thinking. This is why their presence shifts the dynamic wherever they go. People are wired to categorize others quickly. It's a survival instinct. But Sigmas break these mental shortcuts. They don't perform, they don't compete for the spotlight, and they don't adjust their authenticity just to make others comfortable. Their silence carries more meaning than another man's loudest speech, because it isn't used to impress. It is used to think. The dangerous part is not aggression. It is the unshakable self-possession. Studies in behavioral psychology show that individuals who cannot be manipulated through validation or shaming are the hardest for social hierarchies to control. A man who cannot be pressured is a man who cannot be controlled, and that alone makes him dangerous, not in a violent sense, but in an empowering one. He becomes immune to emotional traps, groupthink, and the subtle coercion that governs most social interactions. His calm refusal to bend creates a quiet power that unsettles manipulators, intimidates insecure people, and inspires those seeking freedom. A Sigma doesn't rebel loudly. He simply chooses his own direction and allows the results to speak for themselves. His life becomes proof that independence isn't about isolation, but about sovereignty. The ability to think clearly, act decisively, and stay rooted in values even when society tries to pull him in every direction. This is why Sigma men seem dangerous. They remind the world that true power comes from within, and nothing is more unsettling to those who thrive on control than a man who cannot be influenced. Number 4, their silence isn't weakness, it's calculation. Most men rush to fill silence, speaking just to avoid the discomfort of stillness, but Sigma males treat silence as a deliberate tool. Their quiet isn't empty. It's intentional, strategic, and deeply rooted in emotional intelligence. In psychology, silence is known to increase self-awareness in the people around you, causing them to reveal more of their thoughts, insecurities, and intentions without realizing it. Sigmas understand this instinctively. They think before they speak, allowing their words to carry weight rather than noise. They listen before responding, which builds a stronger understanding of the situation. They observe before acting, giving them an informational advantage in almost every environment. This quiet presence creates subtle pressure that others can feel. When someone sits with a person who refuses to rush into conversation, the human brain tends to overanalyze, a phenomenon rooted in the social anxiety loop studied in cognitive psychology. People begin projecting their assumptions, fears, and uncertainties into the silence, often revealing more about themselves than they intend. It's not magic. It's the natural effect of a calm, grounded presence. The Sigma's silence becomes a mirror, reflecting the inner world of whoever stands before him. And what makes this even more powerful is that the Sigma is not trying to dominate anyone. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't force his opinions. He simply lets the moment breathe, and in that breathing room, others unravel on their own. In conflict, this silence can be disarming because most people expect emotional reactions, arguments, or defensive words. When a man remains calm and unreadable, the brain of the aggressor enters a state of uncertainty, a psychological phenomenon known as cognitive dissonance. They don't know what he's thinking, what he'll do next, or whether their words even matter. That unpredictability becomes a quiet form of power. In social settings, this silence pulls attention rather than repels it. When someone speaks less, the value of each word increases, and people lean in, literally and psychologically, to catch whatever he chooses to say. This is why minimal speakers are often perceived as leaders or mysterious figures. Their words break silence rather than fill it, and that contrast makes them naturally more memorable. For Sigma males, silence is not awkward, it is clarity. It's the space where they gather information, read the room, and stay centered. While the world exhausts itself with noise, the Sigma moves differently. He slows down, watches, thinks, and lets others reveal themselves. His silence is not emptiness, it is presence, it is power. Number 5, they walk away without hesitation. The Sigma male's most dangerous trait is simple yet profoundly misunderstood. He will not stay where he is disrespected, undervalued, or emotionally drained. This behavior is not rebellion, arrogance, or some dramatic show of strength. It is a psychological boundary built from deep self-awareness. Studies in behavioral psychology show that individuals with a strong internal locus of control, people who believe they govern their own lives, are far less likely to tolerate environments that diminish their well-being. Sigmas embody this principle effortlessly. They do not engage in emotional battles or waste energy trying to convince others of their worth. When something no longer aligns with their peace or purpose, they detach quietly. There is no explosion, no argument, and no speech before leaving. He simply walks away, and that silence is what makes his presence so powerful. In social dynamics, the person who needs the least from the group often holds the most influence, and Sigma males naturally fit this pattern. Walking away becomes a form of emotional intelligence, not avoidance. It is the understanding that protecting your mental space is often more valuable than winning a conflict. When a Sigma leaves, the absence reveals the role he quietly played: the stabilizer, the listener, the thinker, the one who brought depth into shallow rooms. People often realize his value only when he is no longer accessible. This psychological phenomenon is known as the social contrast effect. People often appreciate something more after losing access to it. And because Sigmas rarely demand validation, their absence carries a sharper emotional weight. In relationships, workplaces, and friendships, he becomes dangerous, not because he tries to dominate, but because he refuses to be dominated. His silence is not passive, it is deliberate. His distance is not coldness, it is clarity. In a world where many cling to situations out of fear, need, or insecurity, the Sigma's ability to walk away signals a rare kind of strength, one rooted in independence, emotional resilience, and self-respect. He knows that leaving is sometimes the only way to maintain integrity. People may misinterpret it as indifference, but in truth, it is self-preservation. And once he's gone, he does not look back, because he understands something most people never learn. Protecting your peace is the highest form of power. Walking away is not his last resort, it is his ultimate weapon, a quiet decision that speaks louder than confrontation ever could. Number 6, they carry themselves with quiet self-mastery. Sigma males are disciplined, introspective, and grounded, and this combination creates a level of internal mastery that few men ever reach. Psychology refers to this as high self-regulation, the ability to manage impulses, emotions, and reactions without relying on external validation or social reinforcement. While most people need approval, reassurance, or direction, the Sigma male's strength comes from within, making him appear unshakable even under pressure. He observes more than he speaks, processes more than he reveals, and acts only when action is necessary. This quiet behavioral pattern aligns with what researchers call low social reactivity, meaning he isn't easily influenced by group expectations or emotional turbulence around him. And because he keeps his inner world private, he develops a reputation for mystery, even though he isn't trying to be mysterious. He simply understands that not everything needs to be shared. He doesn't reveal everything he knows, everything he feels, or everything he can do. In a world where oversharing is common and people advertise their strengths, the Sigma male's silence becomes its own kind of power. His depth remains hidden beneath a calm, controlled exterior, like deep ocean water that looks still on the surface but carries enormous strength beneath. Evolutionary psychology notes that individuals who conceal their capabilities often gain a strategic advantage because unpredictability creates caution in others. That's why Sigma males can be the most quietly dangerous men in any room. Their danger is not aggression, chaos, or volatility, it's potential. It's the fact that no one ever truly knows their full power, their full intelligence, or their full emotional capacity. They move with intention, stay rooted in self-awareness, and carry a level of restraint that makes people wonder what else they are capable of.